In the small town where Clara lived, love was supposed to be simple, but her love for Liam was anything but. Her family saw him and saw only his past, a story they did not approve of. They came from different worlds, they said. His family had struggled and they believed he was not good enough for their daughter. Every family dinner became a battlefield, their disapproving glances like arrows aimed at Clara's heart. They spoke of tradition and reputation, words that felt cold and empty compared to the warmth she felt whenever Liam was near. Her parents' voices were a constant storm, trying to wash away the foundation of the love she was so carefully building with him. The weight of her family's disapproval was a heavy cloak she wore every day. It followed her on her walks with Liam, turning sunny afternoons gray. The pressure created small cracks in their perfect world. An innocent question from him about her day could trigger a conversation about her parents' latest lecture. Arguments began to sprout like weeds in a garden, choking the beautiful flowers of their affection. She found herself defending him, defending their love, until she was exhausted. The constant conflict left her torn between the family she had always known and the man she couldn't imagine a future without, a painful and lonely place to be. Despite the turmoil, Liam's love was a steady, quiet flame. He wasn't a man of grand speeches or loud declarations. Instead, his love was shown in the small, silent moments. It was in the way he held her hand a little tighter when her parents' words echoed in her mind. It was in the patient way he would listen, his eyes never leaving hers, as she poured out her frustrations and fears. He understood the battle she was fighting for them. He knew she was caught in the middle, and his quiet strength became her anchor in the relentless storm of her family's judgment. He didn't fight with words. He fought with unwavering presence and a love that needed no announcement. The tension at home grew unbearable, a thick fog that filled every room. Clara's father would sit in his armchair, his silence a heavy judgment. Her mother would find small ways to criticize Liam, from his choice of career to the way he dressed. They wanted her to see what they saw, to choose a life they had planned for her. But every attempt to pull her away only pushed her closer to him. She saw his kindness, his gentle soul, and the fierce loyalty he held for her. Their disapproval was a wall, but it was a wall that Clara was determined to climb, hand in hand with the man who held her heart so carefully. Liam knew that words were not enough to win over Clara's family. He had to show them. He had been accepted into a prestigious university abroad, a chance to build a future that no one could question. Before he was set to leave, he knew he had to secure their love. One evening, under a sky full of stars, he took Clara to the old oak tree where they first met. He didn't have a fancy speech prepared. He simply looked at her, his heart in his eyes, and knelt on one knee. He held out a simple, elegant ring, a symbol of a promise he intended to keep forever, no matter the distance or the obstacles they faced. His proposal was a quiet promise, a vow of his dedication. He told Clara that he would use his time away to become the man her family would be proud of. He would work hard, not just for himself, but for them. He wanted to build a life so secure, so full of love, that all their doubts would melt away. Clara, with tears of joy streaming down her face, said yes. That single word was a beacon of hope, a testament to their shared dream. The ring on her finger was more than just jewelry. It was a silent pact, a promise of a future they would fight for together. When Clara shared the news with her family, she was met with stunned silence. But this time, the silence was different. Liam's determination had planted a seed of doubt in their certainty. They saw the sincerity in his actions, the scholarship he had earned, and the unwavering love he had for their daughter. Over the next few weeks, as he prepared to leave, Liam made a point to visit them. He spoke of his plans not with arrogance, but with a humble confidence. He showed them respect, even when they had not shown it to him. Slowly, like the turning of a stubborn tide, their hearts began to soften. The day Liam left for the airport was filled with a mix of sadness and hope. Clara's family was there to see him off. In a moment that felt like a miracle, her father shook Liam's hand and told him to take care of his daughter. It was a simple gesture, but it meant everything. It was an acknowledgement, an acceptance. They finally saw the man Clara had seen all along, someone with integrity, strength, and a deep, abiding love for her. As his plane took flight, Clara held her hand to her heart, the ring a cool, solid reminder of their promise. The future felt bright and full of possibility. Life has a cruel way of testing the strongest of hearts. Just weeks after Liam left, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Clara's world was shattered. A terrible car accident left her fighting for her life. She survived, but the cost was unimaginable. The doctors told her family the devastating news. The damage was permanent. Clara would never be able to speak again. The voice that had once laughed with Liam, that had whispered her love for him, was gone forever. A profound and terrifying silence descended upon her, a prison from which there was no escape. The world she knew had been replaced by a muted, lonely landscape. The silence was deafening. In the quiet of her hospital room, Clara felt a despair so deep it consumed her. She would try to form words, to call out for her mother, but only silence would answer. Frustration and grief washed over her in relentless waves. She looked at her reflection and saw a stranger, a broken version of the girl who had a future full of promise. The engagement ring on her finger felt like a cruel joke, a symbol of a life she could no longer have. She thought of Liam, so far away, working towards a future with a girl who no longer existed. A heavy sense of burden settled upon her heart. How could she ask Liam to tie his future to her silent world? He deserved a life filled with laughter, conversation, and the sound of his wife's voice. She couldn't bear the thought of him sacrificing his dreams for her. With trembling hands and a shattered heart, she wrote him a letter. Each word was a tear that fell onto the page. She told him she was ending their engagement. She told him to live his life, to find happiness, and to forget about her. It was the hardest thing she had ever done, an act of love that felt like a betrayal of her own heart. After leaving the hospital, Clara began the painful process of starting over. She enrolled in a class to learn sign language, her hands becoming her new voice. Each sign was a struggle, a reminder of all she had lost. There were days when she wanted to give up, to retreat into the silence completely, but a small, resilient part of her refused to be extinguished. She found a small community of people who understood her struggle, who communicated with a grace and beauty she had never known. Slowly, painstakingly, she began to build a new life for herself, one piece at a time in a world without sound. Months turned into a year. Clara had found a quiet rhythm in her new life. She worked at a local library, surrounded by the silent stories of others. She had friends who understood her without needing to hear her voice. She still missed Liam with an ache that never truly went away, but she had accepted her choice. She believed she had set him free. One afternoon, as she was shelving books, she felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. She turned, and her heart stopped. It was Liam. He stood before her, his eyes filled with the same deep love she remembered, a love that had crossed an ocean to find her. He didn't speak. Instead, he raised his hands. Slowly, deliberately, he began to move them, forming signs she understood perfectly. He had spent the past year not only excelling in his studies, but also learning sign language. He had refused to accept her letter, to accept a future without her. He had read every book, watched every video, and practiced for hours every day, all so he could speak to her in her new language. His dedication was a testament to a love that was more powerful than any obstacle, a love that refused to be silenced by tragedy or distance. With his hands, he told her everything his heart had held for the past year. He told her that her voice was never what he fell in love with. He fell in love with her spirit, her kindness, and her heart. He told her that a life without her would be the only true silence he could not bear. Tears streamed down Clara's face as she watched him, each sign a beautiful note in a love song composed just for her. He had not just learned a language, he had learned the language of her soul. He saw her, the real her, not as broken but as whole and beautiful. Then he knelt on one knee, just as he had done under the starry sky so long ago. He held out his hand, his expression full of hope and unwavering love. He didn't need to show her a ring this time. Their promise was already forged in their hearts. With graceful movements of his hands, he asked her again, the question that would define their future. "Will you marry me?" In that quiet library surrounded by silent stories, their love story became the most beautiful of all. Clara smiled, her first true smile in a year, and with her own hands she gave him her answer. Yes, their love needed no words. It was a promise kept, a bond that proved that true love can and will overcome anything.